Study abroad. The phrase captures the imagination and suggests adventure and new discoveries in lands away from home. For college students who want to expand their educational horizons, studying in another country offers new experiences, new friends, opens doors to other cultures, and even opens one's mind to viewing the world in newer and different ways. Rhonda Waller, director of MTSU Education Abroad and Student Exchange, wanted to be a teacher. After studying abroad as a student in England and teaching English in Japan for 3 years, she changed her career path from teaching to helping college students discover study abroad opportunities of their own. Waller says she can go on and on talking about the advantages of a study abroad experience.
I know it's a cliche, but it did change my life. It was an amazing opportunity for me. I was studying to be a teacher at the time, and it really opened up my world to new possibilities. And I actually changed my career course as a result of study abroad.
So, where are students headed this year as they seek new educational experiences beyond our shores? And what do they think are the advantages of expanding their college classroom to other countries?
I would actually like to go to Greece. It's somewhere I've always wanted to go. I've been to Germany and I've been to Berlin and other places, and Greece is just somewhere I've always wanted to go.
I went with 5 other students, only one of which was from MTSU. I had no idea who any of them were before we got on a plane together. And when we went to Changsha, which is where the university is at that we studied, we got to meet a ton of people. Everybody was really nice. They all wanted to speak English with us. They all loved the fact that we were American and we were there, which was really helpful because I didn't speak a word of Chinese.
It was an amazing experience, and with Moscow, they're really much like New York. It's very it's like industrialized, but also a very big city and very fast paced, and just the experience of going to the university in Moscow and having the lectures and meetings with the professors over our subject and learning the actual business of how it runs in Russia was amazing.
Some areas of the world have traditionally been off limits for study and travel, either for political reasons or because of turmoil and unrest. Students and faculty alike are working to generate interest in study abroad in such areas as Egypt and other parts of the Middle East, a region of the world that has often been cast in a negative light.
This is going to be the first program in this part of the world. So I'm trying to diversify the offerings that we have here at MTSU. The students will travel in June, and they will stay in Alexandria, a Mediterranean coastal city in Egypt. But there will be many cultural sites visits to Cairo, Rosetta, where the Rosetta Stone was discovered, as well as many other smaller villages and interesting places.
Oh, there's a lot of benefits, especially with the Middle East, because it's an area that, it's obviously important in the political realm. It's very important. The relationship between the U.S. and the Middle East is something that's very important, and people with experience in that matter and that have been there, they're going to be in high demand, and people want students that have that experience.
After several years of being closed to students, Cuba has again opened its doors for study abroad opportunities. MTSU is already at work on a trip to Cuba this summer.
We have an undergraduate program for 10 weeks where you can get 12 credit hours. You'll take 9 credit hours of Spanish. All levels of Spanish are welcome. You don't have to have any prior knowledge. They have classes from beginner to advanced. So 9 credit will be in Spanish, and the other credit hour will be an anthropological history of Cuba that you'll take with a Cuban professor. And there's a lot of trips you'll take. You go to the Presidential Palace, museums, You get this visit and study about downtown historical Havana.
Dr. Doug Heffington, director of MTSU's Global Studies program, which is the only such program in the Tennessee Board of Regents system, says Global Studies is a perfect fit in a university where study abroad opportunities are encouraged. Students in Global Studies learn languages, get good jobs in foreign countries, and they become engaged global citizens. As Heffington says, the world has become our campus.
This social media age, this multiculturalism which we're exposed to every day, is that all of a sudden it's like they really are very interested in the world out there. But they're not so interested in the world here, and by that I mean it's like they see that MTSU is broader than just MTSU.
You know, we're here to prepare young people for their life after college and to enter a very globalized workforce. So study abroad is an excellent opportunity to prepare them for that world.
We started in 1911 with a clear mission to train Tennessee's best teachers. For the last 100 years, Middle Tennessee State University has carried out that mission and so much more. Nationally recognized as an affordable quality university, the #1 choice of undergraduates in Tennessee. As we celebrate our centennial, we look with pride at the past. We look forward to the future. Check out why we're Tennessee's best.
MTSU, it's different here.
Well, we're back with more of Out of the Blue, and I'm Bob Pondillo. Thanks for joining us. This is the program that takes us inside Middle Tennessee State, the blue and white, the Blue Raiders, Out of the Blue. Get it? It's all sort of connected. We have a guest today from the History Department, a fellow by the name of Dr. Fred Colvin, a professor who just recently retired in the History Department for 40 plus years.
Right.
And I'm happy you're joining us today. And Dr. Colvin is part of a project that's going on that's sort of directed by the History Department about a look back, sort of a remembrance or memoirs of MTSU, how we were back 100 years ago or so, since we're coming up on our 100th anniversary here in the September of 2011. So Dr. Colvin, I want to find out about the stuff that you've been looking into, which is about intercollegiate sports and what have you here at MTSU. And so let's do that. First of all, what's the origin of our blue-white, Blue Raiders kind of nomenclature?
When the school first began in September of 1911, there were no coaches, and obviously little attention was being paid to sports. But President Jones did very early in the first quarter, as I recall, appoint a committee of 2 faculty members and 1 student, Quentin Smith, who later became the 3rd president of the university. Yeah. And they were charged with developing colors to promote school spirit. What I find interesting is after deliberation, they came back with the choices of blue or royal blue and white. And the reasoning they gave reflects, I think, the economic orientation and nature of our somewhat simplistic beginnings in that these colors were already very prevalent in the ordinary wardrobe of our students. Thus, they didn't have to go out and buy anything extra, or they were readily available in the stores in a small town like Murfreesboro.
Well, I didn't know that. So you just kind of go with the flow here on
well,
this
it,
one,
it
huh?
was, you know, I think it reflects the fact that we have very modest beginnings. And
Right.
money then, as it is now, is a major consideration.
Sure.
The origin of our sports team's name is somewhat longer in the making. During the early years of our athletic programs, the teams traveled under such names as the Normalites,
The normal,
the Normalites,
the normal college,
the teachers,
Yeah.
the pedagogues, and you can imagine the frustration of sports writers and later sportscasters. You know, it's pretty hard in an exciting moment to scream, "Go pedagogues!"
Yeah, sure.
So in the early 30s, 1934, the Daily News Journal sponsored a contest to name the school's teams and offered a $5 prize.
$5?
$5. Homer Pittard, in his work on the first 50 years, says that there were over 200 suggestions, and the football team was allowed to make the choice. And the choice they selected had been submitted by one of their own members, Charles Sarver. And he submitted the name Blue Raiders. And he explained his reasoning for that choice by saying that his favorite college team of the day was the Colgate Red Raiders. So he merely dropped red, substituted blue, and he got Blue Raiders, and that's the choice.
I would think that it would have something to do with the Civil War for some reason, you know, because of the Raiders and the what have you.
Well, many assumed that.
Yeah.
And for many years, the official logo of this university that appeared on stationery and other sorts of things was a mounted man on horseback that amazingly looked like Nathan Bedford Forrest.
Right.
Now, when you get into that issue,
you
have to look at the mentality of Southern white males in the first half of the 20th century and what they saw in their minds, what Forrest symbolized in so many ways.
Right.
That and one of our mascots early on was a mounted rider. Dressed as an officer.
So
that was discontinued, and in fact, we dropped the use of that mounted figure during Dr. Ingram's tenure here.
Would then the flying horse, or whatever it is the horse, the blue horse,
right?
Lightning, I believe they call it. Is that sort of an iteration, an evolution, or something of?
Well, I think probably it simply represents what the public relations firm or whoever put it together.
Really?
I don't think it does that much, but it's still, you might interpret that as the use of a horse. This is horse country in many ways.
That's true.
That sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Kind of makes
but we
sense.
used a dog for a while and a costume student as mounted in a uniform, but not on a horse. So.
Really, I didn't know that. We had a dog for a while.
Well, but I think
we
thought we were. That was too much like UT.
Well, of course. That's right.
It wasn't a coonhound, but and I think we called him Old Blue.
Old Blue, of course. Yeah, great, amazing. Well, let's get to personalities now here at MTSU. The fellow I don't know about, but I do know because I've been to his stadium several times, the Johnny Red Floyd Stadium, or Floyd Stadium here at MTSU, where we do play our games. But he was a coach. Was he a coach here? Or
he was. Johnny Red Floyd was a member of the sports teams very early on and played under our first real coach, Coach Miles. Like many of our early athletes, with being a two-year school, many transferred up to Vanderbilt. And he had gone up to Vanderbilt and was playing ball there when the United States declared war on the Central Powers in 1917. Vanderbilt immediately discontinued its athletic program. MTSU did not for 1917, and so given the lack of normal eligibility rules and requirements we have today, he came back down here and led 17 fellow students to an undefeated season. And in fact, an unscored on season.
I didn't know that.
I think
unbelievable.
I think his team scored 201 points and the opposition scored 0. Now, we discontinued sports in 1918. Floyd kind of disappears. I guess he went back to Vanderbilt. But in the mid-1930s, after the tragic loss of Coach Falkenberry, our immediate successor coaches did not have much success, particularly in football. Right. And so he was brought back to coach the football team and immediately turned them around. The first year back, he again went undefeated. And the second year was defeated only by Vanderbilt.
Huh.
And
just a winning coach.
Yes.
Clearly a winning coach.
But he left because the president at that time insisted that he began to teach an academic course. All of our early coaches were members of the faculty teaching biology, Latin, history, those sorts of things.
Wow. Fascinating stuff, and there's just reams of names of people that I'd like to talk more about, but we're out of time, sadly. Maybe we'll have to talk again about this. And this information will be available as the history project continues from the history department.
That is the intention, yes.
And that's coming up in September of 2011, the 100th anniversary, the centennial celebration of MTSU. Thank you so much, Dr. Fred Colvin, professor in the Department of History, now retired, who tells us all about where we get our school colors and our other mascots and what have you. It was fascinating stuff. Thank you very much.
Pleasure to be here.
And we'll have more in a moment.
We started in 1911 with a clear mission to train Tennessee's best teachers. For the last 100 years, Middle Tennessee State University has carried out that mission and so much more. Nationally recognized as an affordable quality university, the #1 choice of undergraduates in Tennessee. As we celebrate our centennial, we look with pride at the past. We look forward to the future. Check out why we're Tennessee's best.
This is not just a recording studio. This is not just a flight school.
This is not just a university.
This is MTSU, home of Tennessee's best.
The MTSU Dairy has been a vital part of the MTSU agriculture program for many years, with dairy operations providing important and unique learning opportunities for students. The Stark Dairy on Manson Pike has been a landmark for over 40 years, but with the recent acquisition of the new MTSU farm, the building of a new dairy marks a new chapter in MTSU's agriculture program.
It's finally a dream of a number of years is about to come true, as we get our new dairy laboratory located here on what was once known as the Guy James Farm, with the Guy James family being reared here, Mayor, for over the number of years. I've reflected on this at the recent field day out here. For some of you, you may not know that When Rutherford County was looking for a landfill, this was one of 2 sites I think it would qualify many years ago. Thankfully, it's turning into our new dairy laboratory and to a wonderful operation for MTSU at this particular location.
This college and this department for years have developed an outstanding reputation as one of the top academic programs and practical programs, not only in the southeastern part of the United States, but in the nation.
MTSU is the only university in Tennessee where students gain first-hand experience in the milk production process. The new dairy will be state-of-the-art, exposing students to the latest modern dairy technologies, and will give them the opportunity to gain even more of a leg up over their colleagues.
I say with considerable pride that MTSU is the only university in the state of Tennessee where students milk cows, process the milk from the cows for our campus, and our students and faculty enjoy the great chocolate milk, 2% milk, and regular milk on this campus.
Not only does the dairy educate MTSU students, but as problems arise in the industry, up-to-date training and educational programs are developed in an effort to support the Tennessee dairy and livestock business. The dairy is just one of the many agribusiness and agriscience areas of study in a growing farm laboratory program designed to benefit the ever-expanding farming industry in Middle Tennessee.
But it is a state of the art. The entrance will be really something that's nice. We've got plans to develop the pastures here. We're going to cross-fence this with lanes so we can control graze. And I can go into details. I didn't mean to get this long-winded with you, but we are truly, President McPhee, thankful for this opportunity and for this building.
It's going to benefit us tremendously. We'll be able to milk more cows at a time. It'll be more comfortable on the cows with the new system that we're putting in. It's basically, as they were saying, it's a research facility. It's going to help us out tremendously with the research that we do on campus.
When you think about what's in the process from the time the grass, even the soils and all to grow the grass, to the fact that it goes in the glass for consumption, all those things that are in between there is the experience that our students can gain with this.
It provides them with new technologies in every aspect of society. Technology pretty much is king, and learning to use those technologies in the agriculture side and learning those different skills will give them skill sets to move forward in the agriculture industry in the future.
The dairy is only in the groundbreaking stages now, but is expected to be open and fully operational this spring. As a whole, the agriculture program at MTSU is steadily growing, and with the addition of this brand new facility, it is only expected that further exciting expansion must be imminent as well. Clearly, students and parents are seeing that something good is going on with the agriculture program at MTSU.
For the first 51 years of the university's existence, there were no African American students, and that changed in 1962 when Olivia Woods became the first full-time African American student to attend MTSU and receive an undergraduate degree. When she enrolled at MTSU, desegregation had been in effect since 1954. However, Woods said she still encountered racism.
All new students, transfer students, had to go to the Todd Library, and Dr. Cope was president at the time. And when we got inside and sat down, some young man came in and said, he looked at me and said, "Oh, it's dark in here." So Dr. Cope went right on with what he was saying to the students. And when he had finished, he asked that young man to remain. So I never had anything like that happen again.
Mary Scales was the first full-time African American faculty member at the university. She was an educator and administrator with the Murfreesboro City Schools and continues to be involved in the community. In 1991, Dr. James E. Walker became the first African American president of MTSU, In November of 2000, the new library was dedicated in his name. Dr. Walker died in February of 2006.
On November 29th of last year, we aired a discussion with Dr. Ron Messier, Professor Emeritus of Middle East History and Historical Archaeology, on Jesus as a locus for dialogue between Muslims and Christians in conjunction with a book he was writing. Well, that book is in print now, and it's called Jesus, One Man, Two Faiths, a dialogue between Christians and Muslims, published by Twin Oaks Press. Ron, thanks for being with us.
It's great to be here. It's great to be back home.
I'll bet it is. Can Jesus be a locus for dialogue in a way that Muhammad cannot?
Yes.
How so?
Well, Muhammad or Islam coming to light 600 years after Christianity, Muhammad does not appear in any of the early Christian writings, for example. He does not appear in the New Testament. He does not appear in the writings of the early church fathers. Christians are less likely to see Muhammad as a religious figure. On the other hand, Jesus does appear in the sacred literature of Islam. He appears in the Quran, he appears in the traditions of the Prophet, he appears in many Muslim stories. In fact, a good Trivial Pursuit answer to I don't know if this question is in Trivial Pursuit, it ought to be. There are more stories or more sayings, that's it, more sayings attributed to Jesus in Arabic than in any other language.
There was an interesting Quran verse, chapter 4, verse 157, that says that the Jews did not kill Jesus, which has been a sore spot with people of the Jewish faith about some Christians' assertion to that effect for a long, long time.
Yeah. Well, the verse isn't exactly like that, so let me
clarify.
Yeah, so the one verse that deals with the crucifixion has a pronoun. They claim to have killed him, but they killed him not. Again, interesting experience. I was riding on a train with my closest friend in Morocco, Abdallah Fili. So I said, Abdallah, do you remember the verse about the crucifixion? And he thought for a minute, and he recited it in Arabic, word for word. And then I said, okay, now can you back up 2 or 3 verses? And he did. He was able to back up a few verses, and that's where the pronoun they claim to have killed him is identified as the Jews.
Yes.
And then it clicked in Abdullah's mind that raises a different kind of question. The question might not be whether or not Jesus was killed, but if the Jews claim to have killed him and killed him not, the question could be, then who did?
Thank you for being with us, and assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.